we've created this thing called the LGBTQIA plus community. Only the first 3 letters of that have anything to do with gay people. The rest are predominantly straight people with a kink. So the majority...
Attention, citizens.
Hello.
Hey, it's your boy, Skinny Penis.
So today I am reacting to this video. My ex actually sent this to me. He sent me the link, and the channel's called Dad Saves America. They have about 316 subscribers. The title is called Andrew Doyle, Pride is an Anti-Gay Movement. Pride is an anti-gay movement. I'm very curious on what this is supposed to be about. So yeah, let's check this out. I'll leave the link for Dad Saves America down below. So let's check it out. Here we go.
That Progress Pride flag is it flutters absolutely everywhere. You know, I mean, it symbolizes an anti-gay movement. It symbolizes a movement that believes that biological sex is unimportant and ought to be eroded. Those categories. Now, if you do that, you erode the foundations of gay rights. Gay rights is built on the premise that there are a minority of people who are attracted to members of their own sex. If you take away the idea of same-sex attraction, then you get rid of gay rights. And this is precisely what Stonewall have done. They actually redefined on their website, on their promotional materials, they redefined the phrase homosexual. They say it now means someone who is attracted to someone of their own gender. But what does that mean? It means anyone who identifies as men. Now you can see there are all these lesbian dating apps where there are men with beards on the apps claiming to be lesbians, fully intact with male genitalia. And then they're crying transphobe and bigot because lesbians don't want to sleep with them. Yeah, sexuality discriminates. It's a form of discrimination. Lesbians don't want to sleep with men, not because they're bigots, but because they're lesbians. It shouldn't be that difficult to understand.
Okay, so this is where I'm gonna, because you're a filthy comic with a sharp wit, I'm going to expose my history of prejudice to you to examine it.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to find the right person to do this with. And since we just met yesterday, this is the perfect time.
Great.
I'm Catholic. I was raised in an Italian Catholic household. My whole family goes back to Italy.
Yes.
South Philadelphia, basically Italian ghetto. I grew up in a family in which, and including to recent relatives, gay is psychological disorder. This is a bunch of weirdo stuff.
Yeah.
And this is all just sin and terrible.
Yeah.
That is how I was raised. And so I adopted that as a belief until I got out of college, started working in New York City, met and worked with and befriended and came to love and respect gay people. And I honestly grew up with a certain amount of just genuine disgust.
Yeah.
As a heterosexual man, this makes me uncomfortable. If I find out, if I went to college and somebody reveals they're gay and it's like, are they coming on to me? All that stuff. Yeah. All that stuff is there.
Yeah.
And I've gone through this journey of, coming to love and appreciate and understand that my cousin who's gay didn't choose to be gay. He's gay. He deserves to have a happy life. And now I'm starting to feel myself pulled into a wary posture.
Yeah.
Because of the insanity you're talking about.
Yes.
And starting to say, was gay marriage a mistake?
Yeah.
Was this the dam breaking and all the concerns of slippery slope? It was like, here in the States, there's a conservative Christian Republican politician, Rick Santorum, who really was out there at the time being like, we do this, and next thing you know, there's going to be people saying I should be able to marry my dog.
Yeah.
And he was absolutely excoriated as a knuckle-dragging, Neanderthal, bigoted, fascist, demon, evil, horrible person.
Yeah.
In your article, there are pictures of people in dog costumes walking down the street for Pride Month.
Yeah.
Help me out.
Where to begin?
No, I mean, is it a mistake? Did we?
Okay. Well, I think
you're Catholic too. The Catholic Church doesn't recognize gay marriage. I'm not saying convince me gay marriage is good. Help me out with as someone who sees himself as a liberal, open-minded person that wants to love you as a fellow man and wants you to be happy, and if I had a gay child, I would want them to have a happy life.
Yeah, there's so much there.
But I'm
there.
disequilibrated by everything that's happening.
Well, sure. Well, firstly, the sense you have of uncertainty and that this is something that is not normal and all that kind of thing those are completely natural. I mean, I think the reason why hostility towards gay people will always exist is because it is the minority sexuality, and actually, pretty much everyone is at least, if not disgusted, then put off by sexual activities which they do not find appealing. So gay people will find heterosexual sex to be disgusting. Some people, or they'll find it at least a bit icky. Those feelings are perfectly normal because it's about sexuality, as I say, is a discriminator. It's something that people, have in them for whatever reason.
That's an interesting way to look at that. I never thought about it like that. That's a very interesting way to... That's a really good way to... I like how he said that.
Will find heterosexual sex to be disgusting. Some people, or they'll find it at least a bit icky. Those feelings are perfectly normal because it's about... sexuality, as I say, is a discriminator. It's something that people, have in them for whatever reason. Catholic Church, of course, are right to say marriage is heterosexual because this is an ancient religious tradition. That should, I think, be separated from civil marriage, from the idea if the state is going to allow its citizens to marry and have a contract, which is effectively a social contract between two people, then it's a no-brainer to me that should be offered to absolutely everyone. But that's not the same. That's not to say that religious bodies ought to be forced into doing the same thing. I think those two things are different.
Yeah, I was for, even at the time, I was always for what here was referred to as civil unions. Even George W. Bush, he was saying we should be
right,
the legal equivalent of marriage, but not technically call it marriage. It was be civil.
But it doesn't bother me if they call it marriage. I mean, if it is a civil thing, then it's got nothing to do with the church anyway. They can carry on doing their heterosexual marriages and make it exclusively so. That's their right. So I don't think that's a problem. The Catechism, as you know, doesn't say that being gay is a sin. It says that sexual acts are sinful, but of course it says that about all sexual acts out of wedlock, so that would apply to heterosexuals as well,
right?
So leaving all of that aside, one of the things that's really important, I think, to understand here is it's effectively the slippery slope argument.
Yeah.
So we opened up we allowed gay marriage to happen, and this somehow led to a degradation to the extent that you now have people dressed as dogs, all the rest of it. Now, I think the problem with that is it misunderstands what's happening within this thing. We've created this thing called the LGBTQIA plus community. Only the first three letters of that have anything to do with gay people. The rest are predominantly straight people with a kink. So the majority...
I've been saying that for a while. I've been saying thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Someone else says it that I've been thinking and saying that for a while now. Thank you. Thank you. I'm not saying all, but there's a lot. Thank you. Good.
People who now identify as LGBTQ are heterosexuals.
Yeah.
Now, so this is now a heterosexual movement.
These are the non-binaries and the bisexuals who've only ever had relationships with people of the opposite sex.
Quite. Or people who are identifying as trans or being transed out of a sense of disgust at their own homosexuality, which is very, very common. And they saw that was revealed at the Tavistock Pediatric Clinic. So many of those kids were same-sex attracted. Between 80 and 90% were same-sex attracted. There was a dark joke at the Tavistock where the staff were saying, well, soon there won't be any gay people left, because we're changing them all. The transing of children...
So basically, so Tavistock was adopting explicitly internally the policy of Iran towards homosexuality.
Identical to Iran. I mean, in Iran, the state will fund you to change sex because they will hang gay people from cranes. And so they want to fix you, to heterosexualize you, to correct you. The Pakistani government did that for a while. They stopped that a couple of years ago, but they were funding sex changes, although at the time, Pink News, a sort of LGBT outlet in the UK, did a video saying, Pakistan has just waved the flag for trans rights. Isn't this progressive? No, it's because they were killing gay people and they wanted to straighten you out. So anyway,
this is so. How did this happen?
Yeah. So I think,
how could you do that?
So we have got now with the Tavistock, with pediatric gender clinics,
transing the gay away. transing the gay away.
This is the NHS. The National Health Service has now something in common with the mullahs of Tehran. That's disturbing. But we know, and this is very important for people to understand, that the same young people who are same-sex attracted are disproportionately, overwhelmingly represented among kids who present as trans, right? It's boys who are effeminate, it's girls who are tomboys, it's kids who are gender non-conforming. And we know that gender non-conformity in youth, every study says this, is a very reliable predictor of homosexuality in later life. It doesn't mean that a camp, effeminate boy will turn out to be gay. That's not what I'm saying. 9 times out of 10 they will, right? So that's what the studies tell us. So you're taking these kids along who don't fit into this old-fashioned heterosexual men should behave like this, women should behave like this paradigm, and fixing them and correcting them according to 1950s sex stereotypes. And they're doing that in the name of progress. Like I said, between 80 and 90%, that's confirmed. You can read Hannah Barnes's book on this. It's called Time to Think. We know that the whistleblowers from the Tavistock, from all of these gender clinics, they say again and again, one of the biggest explanatory aspects of this is parents who don't want to have a gay kid. They're much happier having a kid who's heterosexual and trans because they're uncomfortable. They don't like the idea. They're ashamed of it. So autism, by the way, is also hugely overrepresented amongst kids who are referred to as trans. Hugely disproportionately. So there's all these other comorbidities, other issues going on with these kids. And yet, the UK government wants to criminalise the therapeutic approach to these. They, when a practitioner sits down with a kid and says, "Okay, let's talk about the other issues that might be going on in your life," they want to ban that and call it conversion therapy. So
doing actual surgery to change your biology in the name of a manifestly false belief,
yes,
isn't conversion therapy.
Well, of course,
but trying to do traditional therapy where you don't push people to accept their belief in fiction. It's conversion.
It's predicated on the idea that there is such a thing as gender identity, which I don't believe there is. And the government should not be endorsing pseudo-religious ideas and forming NHS policy on that basis. And of course, by saying that they want to ban trans conversion therapy, they're effectively bringing in gay conversion therapy. What these gender clinics for kids are is gay conversion therapy 2.0. Back in the 60s, they used to wire gay men up to electrodes and try and torture it out of them. Now they just mutilate children into heterosexual paradigms to get rid. It's the same thing. And I think there's something about this antagonism, this antipathy towards homosexuality, which you described as a sense of disgust, which will always manifest in one way or another. It just so happens that at the moment it's the gender abattoirs that are doing this. Back in the 60s, it would have been the doctors wiring people up, like that guy Galbraith in America, who claimed to have cured a homosexual man.
Or Alan Turing, who was chemically castrated, as I understand it.
With the same drug that they use to block puberty in kids. Or the corrective rape of lesbians, which still goes on in some countries in the developing world. So, the key thing I suppose I want to get to is that because the gender identity ideology movement, which is cheered on by all sorts of useful idiots, is an essentially anti-gay movement. Partly because it wants to shame gay people for being gay. They say that phrase, "genital preferences are transphobic." That's their phrase. Or they will call you a bigot. The head of Stonewall, Nancy Kelly, she was CEO of Stonewall. She said that women who are lesbians who want to exclude people with penises from their dating pool were analogous to sexual racists. She said you might want to examine your prejudice. And this is coming from the head of the leading gay rights organization. Grindr, a hookup app for gay men, won't allow you to filter out women who identify as men because that makes you a bigot. So you have to include. But if you're gay, why would you want to sleep with a woman? It doesn't make any sense. So when you have a gay hookup site shaming gay men for being gay, there's a problem here. Now, I would say also, remember, there's a statistic I quote in that article, a survey of, weirdly, I think it's young Christians between the ages of, I think it's between 18 and 30.
That is absolutely crazy. That is absolutely absurd to hear. The head of Stonewall says this. You're a bigot. Sexual racist. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. They have some freaking extremist wing nuts over here in higher ups, the upper echelon in the community. No. See this
30, and it's something like 40% of Americans in that category now identify as LGBTQ.
Yes.
Now, that would, because of statistics, we know that, you know, the statistics on the prevalence of homosexuality means that the people who are identifying into that category are largely straight. Within that LGBTQ bracket, now we know it's mostly straight people. Now, this was not meant to be a movement about straight fetishists or defending straight fetishists. Or people identifying into an oppressed class so they can enjoy the status of victimhood. People like asexuals. I mean, the last London Pride the march was led by an asexual activist.
What is an asexual?
One who doesn't want to have sex.
How's that interesting?
It's not interesting.
How's that interesting?
Right, it's not interesting, it's not important.
I guess it's like a eunuch, but without taking the knife to your stuff.
Well, like,
or something.
I guess, but, you know, no one's ever been burnt at the stake for not wanting to have sex. They don't share a history of oppression that is akin to.
I understand the whole. I don't understand. I don't. It's crazy. This is absolutely wild stuff. I tell you.
The oppression of gay individuals or gay men in particular. So that's just someone who wants attention and wants to be a victim, because perversely, within this woke era, being a victim gives you power. And I think that's what's going on there. But whatever else you might call this, those pride marches with the Progress Pride flag, with the dogs, leather dog fetish, whatever the hell that is, that's not gay people.
No.
There will be gay people who are participating. Most of the people participating will be straight. So if we're going to pin the responsibility on anyone, it should be the heterosexuals.
That's fair. That's fair.
And so therefore to say that...
The psychopaths.
Right. To say that gay marriage led to this is actually incoherent. The gay marriage movement was a very conservative movement. It came in the UK from the Conservative Party. It's the idea that gay people should be normalized in society. It's actually why a lot of gay activists opposed gay marriage, because they said, look, we're outside of this heteronormative bubble, you know? They didn't want that. They didn't want to be the same. But of course, a conservative gay person does want to be the same, wants to be treated exactly the same. So it doesn't surprise me that it's largely right-leaning parties that were promoting gay marriage. That actually is the opposite of what the fetishists are doing with Pride. That's the opposite of twerking in front of a child for money. That's because
that's having a committed relationship.
It's exactly right. So to say that the one led to the other is actually to get it completely 100% backwards. I think the reason why there's a problem within Pride now is because it no longer represents gay people. It represents the LGBTQIA plus society, whatever that is, or LGBTQIA2S. You can add as many numbers and letters
the whole
as you
alphabet.
want. Right.
The whole alphabet and all of numerology.
Which is antagonistic to gay rights. In Cardiff at a Pride march, lesbians were escorted away by police because they were holding a sign saying lesbians don't like penises. So if you have a situation where gay people are being kicked out of Pride by the police, how can we say this has got anything to do with homosexuality anymore? It's nothing to do with gay rights at all.
You're kicking out gay folks at the gay Pride, but you're keeping in all the kinky fetishes. Okay. I see you.
I think the discomfort that has emerged out of this is perhaps that you're a heterodox voice, and that what has happened, I don't know how to think about this really in a robust way. There's something that is emergent called culture and norms, right?
Yeah.
I think that's true. They're a weird thing. They're not like even a thing. They're a meta thing. And
the hands.
There seems to be a tendency towards shift.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the sense in which I have become, and I'm obviously not alone, because as you said, even Gen Z is now becoming reactionary against gay marriage.
Yeah.
Now, I've had half the places I've lived now I've had neighbors who've been gay couples for basically my entire post-college life.
Yeah.
It's never caused me extreme levels of discomfort or anything. My son grew up with neighbors who were gay couples, I never worried like he's going to be made into a gay.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Exposed to Carl next door.
Yeah.
Like that was never a thing I was worried about. Even if my ignorance as a child maybe thought that would, but I grew up. But there is this more cultural thing about, well, now we've degraded this thing that was sacred of marriage.
Yeah.
And shifted it, expanded it to include this non-naturally procreative relationship. And so why can't it now keep expanding? And isn't that expansionism has something to do with where we are in this confusion of our times now?
I think you have to question the causality there. How do you get from gay marriage or expanding marriage, at least on a civil basis, to anyone who wants to have any adult who wants to commit to another adult? How do you get from that to the toleration of abusive and fetishistic practices around children? Because the one actually is completely distinct from the other. I don't see on pride parades a celebration of gay marriage. I don't see any of that.
No, that's true.
It's got nothing to do with it. In fact, it's obverse, isn't it? It's about the idea of a sexual free-for-all akin to the 1960s free love movement. It's more, I understand
it's
that
bondage, and it's
Right.
it's weird stuff. It's stuff that you don't want your kids to see. And hey, behind closed doors, do what you want. You're an adult.
But because I don't think Pride is a gay event anymore, because I think it is largely a heterosexual event anymore, what this really should be about is societal attitudes towards permissive sexuality, towards that free love mentality. I mean, if we're going to blame this on gay marriage, why couldn't we just as easily blame it on the popularity of 50 Shades of Grey, a heterosexual bondage book? Why,
fair.
given that
That's
neither
fair.
of these things are represented in the Pride March? Actually, no, the bondage is. So I would just question the causality there.
I came out when I was 16. I'm in my 40s now. The community that I saw when I first came out is not the same that I see now. Totally 180. Totally 180. If you're like a Gen Alpha, Gen Z, whatever you are, I don't know what age group you are at that time. I don't know. I'm Gen X. And you've only really been experienced in the last maybe 5 to 7, 10 years. I've seen a lot more since you guys have. And a lot of this stuff is going crazy. It's gone out of hand. It's really gone out of hand. All the 50 Shades of gender and all this. I'm glad my ex sent this to me. So I really thought this was very interesting. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. I thought this was very interesting and really informative. I really thought this was really good. There's a lot of points in there I agree with. There was a lot of stuff that I saw that I was thinking, like, they're trying to trans the gay way. I've been saying that for a while now. So I'm glad he said that. What's his name? Andrew Doyle? Andrew Doyle. Yeah, that's very good. I like that. Anyway, let me know in the comments and talk to you later. And love, peace, and grease. And bye.